Straight.
Hey, welcome to Rubbing Elbows with Tommy John, brought to you by Roger Williams, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. And Roger's out of Weatherford, Texas. Roger is a very good friend of mine and super guy. Played baseball in the Braves organization. And that don't know how good of a baseball player he was, but he can sell cars. And a big shout out to Patty, JJ, and Sabrina. Anyway, we have a great show today. And it's about my friend and my catcher and the captain of the Yankees, Thurman Munson.
Thurman Munson was a leader, a winner, and before his life was cut short, a Hall of Fame caliber player. Thurman Munson should get renewed consideration for the Hall of Fame.
Munson hits it high, hits it well to left. Wilson going way back, way back.
Won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground. Won't be turned around. And I'll keep this world from dragging me down. Gonna stand my ground. And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground. And I won't back down. Well, I know what's right. I got just one life. In a world that keeps on pushing me around, but I'll stand my ground. And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out. Hey, I will stand my ground. And I won't back down.
And on the show is going to be his beautiful wife, Diana, and his son, Michael. And then we've got an extra special guest in Ray Negron. Ray, when I came over to the Yankees in '79, was like a bat boy. And he worked his way up and, and Ray's done a great job. Super guy. We're so happy that he could be there on this very special Rubbing Elbows program. Give me your best Thurman Munson story.
He was such a character that there are so many. There are almost too many to even think about. But the interesting one that always comes to my mind is the Monday night game of the week, nationally televised, obviously. And Thurman was, as he always played the game, 100%. He was, kind of busting his butt, and not just that's how he played the game. And apparently he was off a little bit that night, and a couple of his throws went into center field when someone was attempting to steal on him. And the fans, they've never done that before. The one time they started to boo him. Well, he didn't take he was not, hey, I'm out here doing everything I can to win this game, and you're going to boo me. So as he walked off the field, he gave a hand gesture that was less than stellar, and it was on national TV, and the fans were, everybody was in shock, including, the National Broadcasting Company. They were not very pleased, and neither were the Yankees. But anyway, Thurman was like, you're not going to boo me when I'm doing everything I can to win this game. And so I'm going to show you exactly what I think of this. And after that, the fans not only loved him, but every time he got up, he got an ovation. He was standing ovation. They cheered him on. because, you know, I always say you can't fool New Yorkers. They know. If you're
Now,
fake, they know.
what he did was a typical New York reaction.
Well, he let them know that he wasn't going to take that. So they loved him. They, you know, never again did I ever hear a boo. Well, maybe in Boston, but nowhere else.
That a boo in Boston is a cheer.
That's true. It's actually a compliment.
Yes, it is. What do you think, Mike?
I was really too young to have many of my own, but a story that I heard that I really enjoyed, Bruce Gossage told me, and he said that he came in, same situation, and he looked in, you know, to get the sign, and Dad didn't put anything down. He just put his glove up. So Bruce stepped off and just kind of shook his head, got back on the rubber, looked back in, and Dad didn't put the sign down again. And so Bruce said, Thurman, he did this, called Dad out. Dad ran out there and looked at him. He goes, "You're not putting down the sign." And Dad looked at him and said, "Who are you going to fool?" So I always got a kick out of that one.
Lemon started away, and Munson called him back. Now they want one of the infielders to come in. And that would be Greg Nettles. Lemon goes back toward the Yankee dugout, and Yastrzemski will be up with the tying run at third. A runner at first, and 2 outs here in the 9th inning. Can Gossage get Yastrzemski, or will Yastrzemski tie it up or perhaps win it for Boston? Well, I guess this is what is known as drive time for our driving commuters in the New York area. If you are driving, drive carefully. And if I explode here in the booth, don't you do so on the highway. 2 outs. The Yankees lead 5-4. And the pitch to Yastrzemski. Low, ball one. Burleson at third. Remy at first. 2 outs here in the bottom half of the 9th inning. Manella deep out in right field toward the corner. Fighting the sun. Having trouble seeing. The set by Gossage. The pitch. Popped up. Popped up. Left side. Nettles. Nettles. Under it. The Yankees win it. The Yankees win it 5-4 and go to Kansas City. The Yankees win it 5-4 and will go on to Kansas City. A mob scene on the field as the Yankee bench charges out to congratulate the players.
That was kind of like the one when I came over to the Yankees. We're in spring training down in Fort Lauderdale. I never threw to Thurman. Now here you've got a brand new pitcher, and you've got the best catcher in the league. It just, in my opinion, you would want them to pitch and catch for a game or two, so you get an idea of how you like to work, the speed that you work and what you do. And I never threw to him. So we got opening day. Opening day is, in my first start, is the 3rd game of the season. Guidry opened, and then Ed Figueroa, and then I pitched 3rd. And when I take the mound, we're 0-2. And Thurman said, what are we going to do? The same, like you always do, you know, first pitch curveball, and then go sinker, sinker, sinker. And I said, how do you know that? You never caught me. And he said, Tommy, I'm sitting there watching a ball game. What do you think I'm doing? You know, playing with my kids? If it tells you the intelligence of the man catching. And do you have one, Ray?
Like Diane said, there are so many. I used to drive Thurman to the airport to Teterboro, and then I would have his car, you know, so while the team was on the road, I got Thurman Munson's car and I'm driving all around the Bronx, having a grand old time, as Diane knows. So anyway, when I would go pick up Thurman, he'd get in the car and we just start chatting and we're headed back to the Bronx. And Thurman would go, so buddy, you hungry? So I said, I could eat. So, I'm thinking he's taking me to like a steakhouse or something. And we stop off at the McDonald's across the street from the stadium over there. And but what was so cool about that is that he would go like to the area where everybody would sit outside, and I would go inside the the McDonald's, and the guy knew exactly what I wanted, 2 cheesies, okay? And so that I would bring it back. And Thurman would actually buy, like, if there were a lot of the kids in the area, they didn't even know who he was, because Thurman would always dress down. It was just, he was like some guy from the neighborhood, And at that time, it was Puerto Rican. So you had the white Puerto Ricans, the black Puerto Ricans. So Thurman's blended right in perfectly. And he's buying cheeseburgers for everybody, you know what I'm saying? For everybody. So everybody would say, the guy with the plaid shirt, every time I'd go in there, they go, where's the guy with the plaid shirt? But, and then during the games, I'll never forget, like when we were home, the minute that I would walk into the locker room, I would look towards his locker, and there he is sitting in there with his shorts on, and he would look, waiting for me. He'd go, Ray, 2 cheesies? And that meant that I had to haul ass across the outside, right through center field, across the street. The minute I walked in, the guy knew I was there for Thurman Munson's cheesies.
Well, they had good ones back in those days.
You better believe it. Especially they made them special for Thurman.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they double pattied them.
Oh, okay. Oh God, I tell you, the game has changed so much between then and now. I can't imagine playing the game the way they play it today with all that. I couldn't do it. Having somebody tell me what to throw because this is what the computer says. Give me a computer. A computer doesn't throw. I throw. Him coming out to the mound, he said, you got good stuff tonight. I said, thank you. He said, I'm not going to put anything down. I'm just going to sit out there. With his zipper on the outside corner, and his glove was right on the outside corner. And I just throw one sinker after another sinker after another sinker. And maybe I threw 6 curveballs the entire game. But then there was a night that I didn't have good stuff. And I had to go with breaking balls. And he picked that up, boom, called curveballs, fastball in, curveball. And everybody was looking for the ball away and didn't get it. That's why he was such a good catcher. There was a thought process in his calling of the games. Tell me, what was Thurman like as a family man?
Well, I've told so many stories. Probably he wouldn't be thrilled that I've shown the gentle or tender side of him, but truly he was, I've often told the story about my daughters. He would want to, Tracy was our oldest, and when she was born, it was in April, and he was obviously playing, and he said, you can't give her her first bath until I come home. And I went, wait a minute, when will that be? Well, of course, it ended up there was an off day, and so he was able to fly home. And there's this big lug of a guy who, all of the media thought was just a bear and didn't have a gentle, tender side. And there he was bathing his newborn baby because no one else was allowed to give her her first bath. So I think that says something about the man. But as they grew older, he would want to give the kids all their baths and would want to read them their bedtime story, which I think for anybody who sees Thurman as this unbelievably hard-nosed ball player, to see him blow dry his daughter's hair and be tender and caring, I think this, you know, they say an enigma, and I never really knew what that was, but he certainly was that, because he had such a tender side, and it was so amazing to see. And, you know, he would take them Halloweening every year, and I'd be left at home, and the kids would think Thurman Munson was there, and they'd ring the doorbell and I'd answer, and they'd all go, "Oh," and they'd all be so upset. I said, "Well, he's out there with his kids. Go find him." So, you know, he was definitely, his family was his priority. I would definitely say that.
When I truly fell in love with Thurman Munson, we were in Boston. I wasn't on a scheduled trip with the team. I just jumped in my car with my bad boy partner, Hector, and we drove up to Boston to catch the last game of the series. And Thurman says, after the game, Thurman said, "I didn't know you were coming up." And I said, "I wasn't planning, it was last minute." And he said, "So you got a car here?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You know what? You just gave me an idea." And I said, "What's that?" "I'm going to drive to Teterboro. You're going to drive me to Teterboro, and then I'm going to fly home." And when we got into the car, we take off. My friend Hector is driving. We stop at a McDonald's. We're driving. He's feeding my friend Hector. I'm sitting in the back, and I am amazed that here's Thurman Munson, the captain of the Yankees, and he's feeding the other bat boy. He's putting the fries in his mouth. He gives him a bite. He hands him the drink. Hector zips off of the straw, you know, and I'm just I was totally amazed. And then he said, I said, "Thurman, why are you so anxious to go home?" You know what I'm saying? And he said, "You know, I can get home and put my kids to sleep. And, you know, I got a new baby." And so I go, "Is his name Thurman?" And so then he says, "I wouldn't do that to him." And so me and Hector started laughing. He said, "What the hell you laughing at? His name isn't Hector either." You know, I mean, it was so sweet. And it was at that moment that I remember, I didn't think about that story until my first child was born. And when my first child was born, I said, "I will always be a father like Thurman Munson." And to this day, that has always been. And I honestly believe look, I'm not a braggart, but I know I'm a good dad. You know what I'm saying? I have 4 kids, and I'm really proud of them. And every day, they all know that I'm a good dad because of Thurman Munson.
Mike, you were very, 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 very young. Do you remember anything about your dad playing ball, going to the ballpark?
Unfortunately, I don't. No, I don't. I had just turned 4 when he passed, and I just don't. I don't really have any memories.
That's a shame. Your dad was a good guy, great ball player, super teammate. People like Thurman come along once in a lifetime. And when they're there, I think you've got to grab a hold of them and don't let them get out of sight. I wish I could have pitched to him more than the few months that I did in '79. I might have won 300 games if I had. But anyway, I tell you a Munson story. This is more about Diana than it is Thurman. We had an off day in Cleveland, and me being the golfer that I was, I used to take my golf clubs on road trips with me. and I would put them in a carry bag and mark them sticks or whatever. As long as you didn't have golf clubs, it was okay to take them on the Yankee plane. So we're in Cleveland, and we got an off day. And I call up down at the Firestone Club in Akron, and we get a tee time in the morning. So we go out, and I think it was Nettles and myself, and I'm trying to think of the third guy playing with us. Anyhow, we play 18 holes in the morning, and then we go out and play 9 more in the afternoon. Then they call Diana. And this tells you what kind of a wife, mother she was. Oh, you guys got to come over. You got to come over for dinner. And we just barge in on the Munson. And Diana fixed an absolutely great meal. We stayed there till, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night. And jumped in the car and drove back up to Cleveland. So our off day was spent playing golf at Akron at the Firestone Country Club, and then having dinner at the because it was Anna. She's the captain of my team.
That was the last time I cooked a meal.
She's not lying.
I'm gonna tell you a cute story. Recently, Reggie Jackson was on Bob Costas, and Bob Costas asked him, "Reggie, do you feel bad about the fact that you and Thurman Munson weren't friends?" And Reggie had a look in his face like he was so upset that if it wasn't on the air, he may have slapped Bob. So then for not doing his homework. So then he told the story about how in 1977, I actually arranged a dinner with Thurman and Reggie. And what had happened was we were in Detroit that summer, and Thurman's knees were bothering him a little bit. So he was getting some work done late. So he was with Monahan in the trainer's room. I was by Reggie's locker, and he was getting ready. We had planned to go out. So I went over to the trainer's room. I saw Thurman was still there. I said, why are you here so late? So he told me what had happened and all that. So I go back to Reggie's locker, and I said, "Reggie, Thurman wants to know if you want to go out and eat." So Reggie goes, "Thurman wants to go eat?" I said, "Yeah, he wants to go eat with us." So he says, "Well, let's do it." So I went back to Thurman and I said, "Thurman, Reggie wants to know if you want to go out and eat." And Thurman said, "Reggie said that?" And I said, "Yeah, he wants to go out and eat." So Gordie Howe had just opened up like a sports bar type of thing out there. So we went over there. So Reggie said, "Go get a cab." I went and got a cab. The two of them walked out together. We jumped in the cab and we went over to Gordie Howe's place. And they literally sat on one stool. They shared a stool. Believe it or not, these two big men are sharing a stool because the place was packed. But they were talking and all that. They're talking back and forth. Now, Diane, I spent 7 years with Thurman. You spent his lifetime with him. You know, when you got him mad, he would have this like look. And that look was like, "Oh, crap. You know what I'm saying? You're in trouble now." So what happened was they started chit-chatting. It got a little heated, but not bad. And so Thurman said, "Listen, the only reason I'm here," Reggie said, "Hey, listen, the only reason I'm here is because Ray said you wanted to get together." And so Thurman looked at me like, "You little mother, you know what?" So they chatted. They actually shared a hamburger together. Okay. He took a bite, he took a bite, he took a bite, he took a bite. And you know what, Thurman, I'm not gonna say exactly what he said, but he said something to the effect of, I never ate anyway. Let me leave it alone. And Reggie laughed his butt off. And then, Thurman said to Reggie, listen, this is going to be cool, but no more of those straw stirring stories. And Reggie said, deal. And it was really, really cool to see that. And Diane, you know better than anybody, because you laid in bed with the man and you spoke to him at his most intimate moments. And I'm sure he told you how him and Reggie had become friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad and happy to say that they worked everything out before his death, and they were actually friends, which pleases me, as they sometimes both felt like outsiders. I think there was a common thread there.
Yes. And what I hated about Thurman was that every once in a while, like, listen, I used to answer all of Reggie's fan mail, and Thurman would see that. So every once in a while, when it was just me and him, he would come over to me. He would go, "Hey, Reggie, I mean Ray," you know what I'm saying?
Okay, Mike, your dad is so loved in Canton, Ohio. Can you and your mom tell us some of the events they do in your dad's name for charities?
Well, in Canton in particular, they've now started a scholarship fund that they give to a deserving senior in baseball, and also for the women in softball, which makes me happy.
Very good.
They built a stadium in his honor, and it's beautiful. As a matter of fact, they just did $5.5 million renovation on it. And I think it took people, this is obviously, Canton, Ohio is the Football Hall of Fame, so people are prone to follow the football players as opposed to baseball. And obviously this is was Cleveland Indians, now it's Cleveland Guardians city. So Thurman frowned on there for a while because he was the New York Yankee, but as time has gone on and people have realized the significance of having, the first catcher since Lou Gehrig of the New York Yankees, and to have him be Rookie of the Year, MVP, I'm not going to quote his stats, but I could. I'm just saying people now have realized this is a favorite son, and maybe we should embrace him. And I think lately I have seen more of a willingness to love him and be proud of him, as opposed to someone saying, oh yeah, I struck him out when he was young. That was a go-to for a lot of people. But I think they now realize that Thurman loved his hometown so much that he built his dream house here, and they've embraced him. And that makes me happy because, New York has always embraced him. And many times when I speak there, and we have a foundation, the AHRC, that we've raised $18 million for in the New York metropolitan area. And we're so proud of that. And the fans still embrace him after 43 years. And it's nice to know that his hometown now is rallying around him. And it makes me happy. And my children are involved in a lot of the charities now. And that also is fun to see. It's fun to know that, we can all represent. And that's what we try to do.
That's so good. Now, the dinner that I came to, that was to raise money for the baseball field?
No, that was for the scholarship fund for the young people.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
that's been about the last 4 years.
Yeah, we're just getting that off the ground. But this was our third year. So
Yeah.
do they have to go to a certain college, or can they go to any college?
No.
It's for anyone in our Stark County area that's a catcher, male and female. Obviously, we picking it.
Right.
It's not just statistics. It's obviously how they affect the community and everything also.
It's
Good.
academic, if they're willing to, do charity work, if they're willing to help the community, it's based on what kind of people they are too. So
Sure.
we're
Sure.
proud of that because it has, it's steadily growing. It's like I said, just got off the ground about 3 years ago, but it just is getting bigger and bigger where we've had to change the venue where we hold it because there's so many people who want to be involved. So I think Thurman would be proud.
I enjoyed it, and my wife Cheryl enjoyed it, and we look forward to coming back.
Well, you were such a big hit. You and Cheryl just were, because you're always authentic, you're yourselves. Then I laughed because I've never heard you speak, and I realized that, like Thurman, there are times that you don't have a filter, and the fans absolutely loved that. And so we enjoyed it. You were a big hit.
You're right. Well, I have no filter. What comes here goes out here, and sometimes I should probably hold back, but that wouldn't be.
Thurman, so I think that was one of the reasons you two hit it off. Thurman likes authentic people because he was always himself, even when people didn't want him to be.
Mike, your restaurant bar, the Tugboat, that was named after your dad?
Yeah. One of his nicknames obviously was a Tugboat. And a lot of people asked me about the name. So I finally he has a baseball card, and it says nicknames of the 70s, and it says Tugboat above his name. So I got it blown up and put it in here. So instead of telling the story over and over, I just would point at the card. I'll tell you a funny story, though, to piggyback off what my mom said earlier about people saying, they struck him out. Through my years, obviously, growing up, people would talk to me about my dad. And, I think in a way to make it easier, I'm not really sure what word to say, but they would always say, oh, yeah, my dad struck him out. Or, oh, yeah, one of the things I always remember is I struck him out once. But finally, after years of this, I went to my mom and I said, how the hell did Jack scholarship? He had to hit 0. I mean, everyone in camp struck him out.
Well, I played against Thurman in a World Series, and
2 of them.
Yeah. 78. I was in 4 World Series, and we finished runner-up all 4 times. But Reggie was on first base, and Thurman was up, and I threw a sinker, and he hit a ground ball to shortstop, and Billy Russell came over, picked it up, and fumbled it, and picked it up again and stepped on second base for the force out. Well, then he just kind of lobbed the ball to first base, and Reggie just stood there and let the ball. And oh my God, Lasorda came out. That.
Munson at second for the Yankees. Reggie Jackson at first. He's had an RBI in every game in this series. 4 games, 6 RBIs. Drill, right at Russell, he dropped the ball. Are they going to get 2? No, he threw it away. Going to hit Reggie. Hit Reggie. Confusion on the bases. Here comes Munson. He's going to score for the second run. There's a lot of confusion. The ball hit Russell's glove. It then hit the ground. Reggie Jackson was forced out, but then on a throw, that was the second out of the inning. On the throw to first base, they are saying the ball hit Reggie. It is a complicated play because Reggie is out of the play, and yet the ball might have hit him, scooted away, allowing Munson to score. That is Frank Pulley, the first base umpire in blue. He's with the National League. Joe Brinkman, the umpire from second base. He is in scarlet, and Lasorda wants a ruling. The entire Dodger team. Here it is, Joe.
Russell, now there's the force on Jackson right there, so Jackson's out of the play, and it hits him. He's right in line, and Jackson is thoroughly confused. He's still in first base. He doesn't know what to do. Piniella is entitled to the base unless they rule interference. Now here's the ball again. It's hit to Russell, who knocks it down. And now he steps on the back, forces Jackson. You saw the umpire motion safe. I'm sure it was on the ball it was hit. Nothing else, and they've got a meeting out there. Looks like an election coming up. There's so many people between first and second.
They've got a summit meeting out there is what they've got. Almost every Dodger's around there and all the umpires.
Look at that. Everybody is reaching for the ball, and finally,
I'll tell you what,
leaned into it.
he let it hit him purposely, and I've got to believe they're going to, well, I don't know what they're going to do, but if it is ruled intent, I think, we'll have to check the rule, I think that they could rule that runner out, as he intentionally looked like he got in the way.
He was leaning, there's no doubt. We'll run it again, and you'll make up your mind. And Lasorda is really upset, and you can't say that you blame him.
Reggie Jackson, from our replay anyway, looked like he stuck that hip out to allow the ball to hit him purposely, which would have been the third out.
I don't think there's any question he did.
Watch this now.
He's confused. He doesn't know if he's out or whatever. He can't watch the call, but he'll move into the ball, certainly. Now, the play before that, the line drive that was hit to Russell, he can't intentionally drop the ball. It's a judgment on the umpire's call of the play. He can't intentionally drop that line drive to set up the double play. It's a judgment play for the umpire, but he did. And Lasorda is livid. He is absolutely livid.
Reggie did what he was supposed to do. I did what I was supposed to do. I got the ground ball, and I asked one of the umpires, I said, what should Russell have done? He said, throw it as hard as he could, right as he hit. If he wants to get that, let him go ahead. Yeah. The World Series with the Dodgers and Yankees, two of the great names in baseball. And I got to play in the World Series on both sides of it. And we lost both sides. In 81, the Yankees lost to the Dodgers. Assholes.
What was Thurman like as a leader, as a captain?
One of the greatest warriors I ever knew. Thurman, I can remember the day I called him in to make him the captain. I said, Thurman, we need somebody to lead us.
Thurman was just, he was the leader. He was the captain. He was the soul of our team, really. Played hurt all the time, had a very unorthodox way of playing the game as far as a catcher, but got the job done all the time. He was the guy that really just went out there and led by example.
Derek Jeter came up to me I was standing with Derek Jeter, and who's a great guy, okay? Great guy. I'm very proud of what he did with his career. But when he was first the captain, he had asked me, how was Thurman as the captain of the Yankees, and how could he, in essence, do what he had to do? This is when he was first made captain. And I said, look, don't do that. Don't do that, because he was the right captain at the right time for a very, very difficult team. And if it wasn't for him, it would not have worked. I said, you're the captain for this team, which is perfect for you. But it would not have worked for you to be there at that time and be captain of that team, because they would, I was comfortable enough to say that they would have swallowed him up. Whereas Thurman, he was a man's man. He was, and Tommy will tell you that. He was a man's man, and he taught me how to be a man.
I know people have asked me, they said, it was hard to run on Thurman. It was hard to run on Thurman. One, because the pitchers held the guy closer to the bag or whatever. But I recall one time somebody took off and I threw a sinker, and it was low and away. And I mean, low and away. And he backhanded the ball and threw from where he caught it, and threw like an underhanded ball to second base and got the runner by 10 feet.
and pulls the high breaking ball and the mistakes that a pitcher will make.
There goes the runner. Here's a throw by Munson. They got him. I don't know how he threw that ball. It was shades of Eldon Walker. It's a submariner. He really submarine. Now watch the release. This is something to marvel at. It's not something you really want to practice. He does everything wrong except get the man. Loses his balance, throws it underhand, gets the ball there in time, and that's all that counts. They don't pay you for looking good.
Well, you can throw it as hard as you want, but if you wind up to throw it, it still does not get there very quickly. He did not throw it very hard, but he got rid of it quickly and accurately, and it got there as quick as a hard thrower.
It's amazing how he threw that ball submarine like Eldon Walker used to do.
Now, had he caught the ball to come up and get in a throwing position, the guy would have stolen the base. But he just picked it and threw from where he caught it. And that's why Thurman was so tough to run on. God, you just, it was such a pleasure to throw to him because you didn't have to really look at the runner that much and keep him that close.
Diana, how was Thurman in high school for athletics?
Oh my gosh, he was such a pleasure to watch. My father was a great athlete, football player, and he was all everything, all Ohio. He was all everything. And big Italian man who, first of all, wasn't so thrilled with the name Thurman. When I would come home and talk about the name Thurman, he was like, what the hell name is Thurman? So he was right away like this guy. And eventually he started hearing what kind of an athlete he was. Thurman was the captain of the baseball team, the basketball team, the football team. He could play ping pong. He could bowl. There isn't anything he couldn't do. So my father took an interest. He said, well, I want to go check this kid out. So we actually went to our local stadium and watched it. And at the time, Thurman was, we played all positions, but when he was wide receiver, he was catching the ball in the end zone one-handed before anybody was doing that. And my dad lost his mind and was so very impressed with him. And it ended up that they became so close that towards the end of our time together, I took my dad aside and I said, listen, I'm the daughter. He's the son-in-law. You're not supposed to love your son-in-law more than you love your daughter. So, they were, but because of the athletic ability, I think my dad really respected and admired that Thurman was such a go-getter and that how he played all of the sports was remarkable. He was just, we all became fans. You become a fan of watching somebody with that much athletic ability. So he was known around here in all of we used to have something, we had 4 main high schools, and they would have all city night. And I would hear people in the stands talking about him. I wanted to say, hey, that's my guy you're talking about.
Munson was all city and all state in both football and basketball, but his passion was baseball. He was offered scholarships for football and baseball, but it was Kent State baseball coach Moose Paskert who won him over.
Thurman had a wonderful relationship with Bobby Bonds. They were really like close. It was a beautiful thing to see. And one time Thurman went over to Bobby's apartment in the Bronx, and Bobby had a ping pong table in his living room. And to see Thurman play Bobby in ping pong was like watching the Chinese play.
Oh, wow. Wow. I didn't know Bobby was that good of a ping pong player.
Oh, he got that table for his son, Barry and Bobby Jr., because they used to play.
Wow.
We all had a ping pong table at our house, and Thurman challenged everybody who came in the door. He thought he was quite the pro.
Well, he was pretty daggone good. Yeah.
Yeah, he could do anything athletically, that's for sure. But he couldn't fix a single thing at the house.
Why they have repairmen.
That's exactly what he said. I can pay somebody to.
That's right.
I think that obviously I'm prejudiced about this, but I really think if you stop using the word longevity and you compare Thurman statistics to statistics in pet catchers in the Hall of Fame, you will surely see that this is a man who deserves it. Not only for the integrity he showed and the family man he showed, and for all of the things that are not written down on paper. But if you look at his stats and you think about how Thurman almost single-handedly turned the New York Yankees around in the 70s, they were in trouble. And Thurman was the inspiration and the cog in the wheel, if you want to call it that. He turned things around and he made people believe and he made people want to play harder. I know a lot of the players have said to me through the years, if it weren't for Thurman, we wouldn't have been where we ended up in the 70s. And I truly believe that's true.
Despite the off-field distractions, Munson remained brilliant on it.
Munson's throw going to be close. They got him. And he's out. Holy cow.
Thurman also had a good year at the plate, hitting .308 with 100 runs batted in. His third straight year with a .300 average and 100 ribbies. More importantly, he led the team into the playoffs for the second year in a row, where the Yankees survived a 5-game battle with Kansas City.
The Yankees win the American League pennant.
The Yankees were off to the World Series, where they'd face the Los Angeles Dodgers. The series put Munson and Jackson together in the spotlight, and they both excelled. Thurman hit .320 with 2 doubles and a home run, but it was Reggie who earned the nickname Mr. October with a .450 average and 3 home runs in Game 6. A stirring World Series title as a way of making any drink taste good.
I'm the straw that stirs the drink definitely created a strain between Jackson and Munson, but in some ways was healed by the big year that Reggie gave them in '77 and the 3 home runs in the last game of the World Series. And you can see Munson with this big smile in the dugout congratulating Reggie. And that smile's not a pretend smile. I mean, he appreciated what that guy had done, taking them to the top.
I wish they would consider all aspects of the man as opposed to he only played 10 years. There's no rule about how long you play. It should be, what did you accomplish and what did you prove in those years?
Well,
and I think he proved
that's these sports writers have gotten, oh, well, he didn't play long enough. And, I won 288 games and I played 26 years. And, but you didn't win 300. Well, but I won 288 and I had 188 no decision. But what Thurman did in the amount of time that he was with the Yankees was awesome. And it was Hall of Fame like.
People don't understand because I saw the magnitude of how he could, in essence, work Mr. Steinbrenner. Okay. And the other thing, let me just say that if it wasn't for Thurman Lee Munson, Mr. Steinbrenner would not have really had the courage, per se, to have pursued and signed Mr. October, Reggie Jackson. Okay. And Thurman doesn't get enough credit for that aspect of it. Okay. So, I mean, hey, he belongs to the Hall of Fame the way Roy Campanella, who did 10 years also. All right.
Yeah. When you wiped away the tears and you saw it, it was, your buddy had just died. And it was on a Thursday. And I think I pitched Sunday. And then Steinbrenner had the plane ready Monday to go up for the funeral. And those were the 3 or 4 longest, hardest days I ever had to put in at the ballpark because of the passing of Thurman Munson and what he meant to us. And when they had that, people asked me, do you consider yourself a Dodger or a Yankee? And I said, well, I said, I like Dodgers organizationally. The O'Malleys were great. They treated you like a son. I said, but I love the Yankees because of the fans. And the fans, just like that 8-minute standing ovation for Thurman, was phenomenal. And you just, you're out there on the field and you got tears running down your face. I thank God every day that I got playing time with Thurman.
America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
He made me a better pitcher. And when I threw some of those short hop fastballs that hit him in and around the thighs, and he told me one time, Diana really doesn't like you to pitch because it's always going around my genitals. And, we want to have more kids. And with you out there on hoppers, it's tough.
I'm not sure about that story, Tommy. I'm not sure that's factual.
Hey, let me just add that, going on what Tommy said, that Friday, Mr. Steinbrenner pulled the team together in the locker room, and we were all like right by Thurman's locker, actually, and it was like a team meeting. And I was hiding in the corner by near where the players' lounge was. And when Tommy John started crying like a child, and then I looked at Louis Tion crying hysterical, and Reggie is crying, Bobby is screaming. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I understand what Tommy was saying.
Well, it just shows you how much Thurman meant to us in the clubhouse. And you lost one of your main buddies. And, but we'll see him again. I've got to up my act or I'm not going to make it into heaven, but but I can't.
Not if you keep telling those stories.
I'm going to be pushing for Thurman to go in, and I know I've got an advocate now in there that's pushing for me. His name is Jim Cott, and when he got inducted or elected into the Hall of Fame, he called me up the next day and he said, TJ, yeah, he said, this is Kitty. Yeah. And he said, I just want to apologize. For what? He said, you should have gone in before me. Yeah, it doesn't make any when. As long as I get in, I will go in and I will cherish it. And I hope I get to go in and there'll be this nice older lady accepting the award, Thurman Munson. But anyway, Mike, Diana, thank you very much for being on. Ray, thank you, buddy. And
Thank you, Tommy.
Diana, I cannot believe what you went through and how you came out of that stronger, wiser. And, it's just, it's just something that you can't believe, but you're a tough woman. And we will see you in Cooperstown someday, my friend.
The first lady of the Yankees. First lady of the Yankees.
Straight.